Welcome back to Season 4 of The Impact of Educational Leadership. This is episode 69. I'm your host, ID3 for Isaiah Jerome III. Tonight's panelists are Delna, Bryan, and Philip Dorantes. Philip Dorantes, please say hello to the people.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Philip Dorantes from El Paso, Texas. I am currently a special education teacher in Ysleta Independent School District here in the Lower Valley, currently working at Esparta Elementary School.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Miss Delna, Bryan, please say hello to the people.
Good evening, one and all. This is Delna Bryan from Dallas at Young Men's Leadership Academy.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, tonight's discussion is a good one. It's a good one, and one that is long overdue. It is our unsung heroes. Throughout history, there have been honorable people who endangered their lives to save others. Many people still choose to ignore these unsung heroes and the sacrifices they have made. There are so many stories of how educators and paraprofessionals have changed people's attitudes about life. Influence is power that affects our understanding, our actions and decisions unconsciously. These influences are formed from unknown biases residing deep in the subconscious that individuals may choose to conceal for the possibility of social and or political power. However, the unsung heroes experiences are used to create the lyrics for the music and tapestries designed, which are the theoretical frameworks adolescents need to develop successfully in our society. Whether influences, dispositions, opportunities, or abilities, these character traits are not accessible through self-examination alone. These character traits are influenced by effective settings and practices during an adolescent's development stage. Tonight we will have a discussion. We'll have a deep, down-to-the-bone discussion about why are our unsung heroes overlooked and what reinforcements do they bring to the table. The first panelist I want to pull from tonight is the Honorable Delna Bryan. Delna Bryan, she is an activist, educational advocate, now in her 40th year of teaching and educational consulting in the United States of America. Past president for NEA Dials of Educators and Paraprofessionals. She served on 2 committees for Delta Kappa Gamma International Scholarship Committee, for the Euler Carter and the Oversight for Human Resources Committee. Ms. Delna Bryan, please indulge us. What are you doing currently? What's going on in your world?
In my world, I'm trying to motivate my middle school students who are combining virtual at-home learning with their actual in-class learning. How do you motivate this child when there is so much going on in a pandemic? So much going on at their homes. They're telling me my uncle is in the hospital for COVID and they might pull the plug on him. I have not seen my father cry before. His brother passed away from COVID. This is the child that I'm dealing with. many like that. Those are the students that I'm dealing with today. But I love what I do, so I feel that I'm there for a purpose. I have a purpose to fulfill.
Absolutely, and we thank you for what you're doing inside and outside of that school. When I hear you talk about motivation, the first two terms I think about is intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, and that kind of ties into the question that we have for you tonight, and that is, what is the association between cultural skills and social skills, and how do you use them succinctly to navigate successfully in our current society? That's my question.
Cultural skills and social skills really go hand in hand. They overlap each other. Sometimes you put one before the other. Sometimes you wrap them around. When you talk about cultural skills, these are the skills that I am bringing, that I am seeing in my classroom from the different students that I have. I learn a lot from my students, from their different cultures. I have Guatemalan students that I had no experience with at all before, but talking to them, I understand that they have over 50 indigenous groups in Guatemala. They have different languages, they have different dialects. I understand my Salvadorian student or my Honduran student. They're coming with different heritage, different cultures, not only from the dance or the food or what, they're bringing unique cultures that I have to be aware of. Then how do I combine those into the social skills that they might need to navigate in the United States in a setting where things are totally different? From their culture, they might be bringing Spanish. That is the official language. Now, from their social skills, they have to add, at times, English. So therefore, I have to be abreast and I have to be cognizant of the fact that one thing I have to say to them, yes, you might be learning the language for your social skills, but remember the depth of the language of your culture. Be proud of it. Do not leave it behind. We have what are called cognate words. And we go over whatever story or whatever we're talking. It could be a current event. So we often see these cognate words. This is what you are bringing to the table. There are certain characteristics that must be incorporated. How do you incorporate that? Are you going to do it through direct instructions? They have to resist some peer pressure that they might have. Again, It's different having peer pressure when some are at home, some are in the classroom. Are you going to do this through creative expression? If you're in the classroom, a lot of arts and crafts, music can be incorporated. How do you do that? Via Google Classroom. So again, you have to be creative. You might have it cooperative learning, but now, again, with virtual learning, you have to think outside the box to be able to incorporate this. The students are coming from different backgrounds. You need to understand their social and emotional needs. You have certain parameters to help them in the classroom. And one of the things that I believe wholeheartedly in for their cultural skills as well as their social skills, some are not too comfortable that the parent might not be able to speak in the social language, which is English, that they're in at school. But this is not something that you're ashamed of. This is something that you are proud of. I get my parents involved. I call the parents, and most of the times it's not to complain about the students. It's to praise the parents for whatever they are doing at home during this pandemic to keep that child clothed, fed, and at school with all the topsy-turvy things that we have going on every day. Families are important in our cultural and social skills, especially in a time like this. Sir?
When I hear you speak, the one word that comes to mind is legacy. 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 This traditional, this legacy, this strength, this strong, robust teaching style, unfortunately, is diminishing. It's getting weaker. It's getting diluted. And the nutrients, if you will, if I could use teaching as nutrition, the nutrients that comes from a home-cooked meal, however you want to label it, however you want to describe it, but it's nourishment because you had all of the food groups in that meal. I'm so distraught. I'm so scared. I'm so reluctant to say that. Is education becoming microwave? I heard a lot of faith. I heard a lot of love. I heard a lot of joy in what you said. I heard a lot of attention. And the attention that you give your students and the faculty and the environment helps you see and helps you hear better. Because you are learning while you're leading. And that's what makes it the legacy. That's what bridges what you do in the classroom and outside the classroom with not only the local environment and the state environment, but the national environment. And, you know, the topic tonight is our unsung heroes. And Ms. Delna Bryan, you are an unsung hero. And with that being said, I want to bring in our next guest. Please, Mr. Dorantes, please say hello again to the people.
Hello, this is Philip Dorantes. Okay, this is Philip Dorantes. I am a special education teacher for the Ysleta Independent School District, and I have been teaching and pioneering the autism behavior unit for the Lower Valley. That consists about 4 feeder patterns that go into different high schools in the Lower Valley. And with that autism program is that we teach kids or students how to perform the academic appropriate behavior in the academic setting, both using proper social skills as well as acquiring the ability to understand instruction to be able to perform at the grade levels that they are in. The students that we receive from the different feeder patterns around the school are all located within the city limits, but however are all directed to one campus, which is mine. And those students, what they do is they get qualified and set into my program after every service has been depleted or was not successful on their home campus. So with my students that I work with, I am their only connection to my school. Most of them are most of them are belonging to other schools, and I am their only connection to that school. So I try to integrate them into the school setting, into the general education inclusion program, to where they're able to socialize, make connections to other students, build friendships, and then be able to also be successful in the classroom in the academic areas of all the core areas of academics. The parents that I work with that take care of these children, I am their only connection to the school also. And so they entrust in me the safety and the nurturing and the health care, as well as the academics of their child. In my role. So they have my cell phone, they have my email, they have all access to me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the reason why is because they need to have that confidence and that security and that connection that their child is being taken care of, and knowing that if they need to make contact with me right away, that I am available to them and I'm able to have that access. I'm very lucky to have the administration that's at my school understand the protocols and the procedures that are set in my classes, to where I'm able to have a cell phone with me at all times and text parents because of therapies or because of medical healthcare checkups or kind of counseling, stuff like that they have to pull their son or daughter out of my program for a couple of hours and have those services acquired through other venues. With that being said, the COVID-19 pandemic really started distributing other new anxieties to my children, to my students, to where when they were in class March of 2020, and they had struggles that were in class where they weren't able to socialize appropriately, or they weren't able to practice social skills that would help them, not only make friends but maintain friends and stuff. They were having to build or having to get other anxieties where we were doing virtual online learning, and the students were at home trying to understand what's going around in the community, what's going around in the community around them, as well as what is going on with their family due to illnesses and the things that they're watching in the media and on TV and in the news. And the students were getting confused as to what is our place now. What is it that we're doing And what is our goal? Are we in school? Because I'm at home now. So there was a lot of questions, a lot of anxieties. Parents were also caught off guard because their home life is changing as well as their employment. So there was tons of struggles going on in the household that affected the children as well as what was going on in education that was affecting the children.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I can hear nothing but compassion coming from you. I have to now. I want to introduce you a little bit more. But first, I want to thank you so much for coming onto this podcast and adding value to this podcast, sir. Thank you, Mr. Dorantes. And with that being said, you can hear listeners the experience that this man has as it relates to not just his students, but the field of education in general. He's been teaching, I believe, special education for over 15 years or so in the state of Texas, specifically in El Paso. And he has attained several degrees, all the way to a master's degree in education for special education and for special learning disabilities at the University of Texas at El Paso. But like I was saying, and he has helped spearhead many committees, PAC committees. Also, he helped put together a autism behavior unit that was very highly successful in the lower valleys of El Paso as well, using these strategies and these tools to help just strengthen the student body and with social relationships at every stage of development, and giving them that confidence that they need through his compassion. With that being said, I really want to ask you a question because I want to kind of bridge this gap with Miss Delna Bryan. When I commented, I heard her speak. I mentioned the word legacy, but I also mentioned the word attention to detail, right? And so, through your lens and your experience, right, working in the different environments, the different settings, from one-on-one, right, to group settings, to school settings. You've seen a lot. You've seen children develop, And so with that being said, what do you see, or what will you tell a child? Well, how does students' potentials, how do their potentials differ among adolescents who have positive role models versus adolescents that have negative role models? That's my question.
Well, sir, you were correct. When it came to talking to Mrs. Delna, you can tell legacy is a virtue when it comes to Ms. Delna and the years of experience that she has had in her field. You had asked earlier if education was being microwaved now as far as nurturing the students. And at pre-COVID, in 2020, in the early months of the 2020 year, I would have been in that area where, yes, it is being microwavable, because we really needed to get out of that mindset of where teachers who had been there so many years and were still used to the old, making copies and doing dittos and doing workbooks that were being used decades before. They were not being updated or not being used to what the students were learning now with the new programs and the new data that's available now for curriculum. And so when we went to COVID-19 pandemic role, where we were going virtual online and teachers had to reinvent a new strategy, a new way of delivering instruction to students in all the areas of content for reading and math and social studies and science, that's when I felt like, we're not microwavable anymore. We are now on the frontier. We're giving rebirth to education by using technology now and getting students to be able to interact with us without physically being in the classroom. Now that we're in COVID-19 and we've already got used to the virtual online instruction, and some kids are still at home, other kids are on campus because they don't have internet, or they don't have a safe place to go to school, or because their both parents are essential workers and there's no one there to take care of them. We have that connection because everybody is still learning and getting the same delivery of instruction through technology or first person interaction, direct instruction. However, the having role models of being positive and negative really depends on the student's ability to recognize when there is a positive role model, and have them be able to recognize when there's a negative model. Because really, students having access to media and having access to videos and to other areas and other venues of entertainment, I think having a positive role model and having a negative role model kind of conflict in the ideas of a student, because they're so innocent and so naive that they don't really are able to identify when there's a positive role model or negative role model. Now, that isn't the case for all students. The only reason why those students that are able to identify have had past experiences with somebody that had posed a threat to them, and they knew later with consequences and through life experiences of being hurt or physically abused or anything, that was a negative experience for them, and that they would know that there is a positive role model that doesn't do those kind of experiences, or don't have the nurturing to promote them to become a better person or learn from those experiences, so that it doesn't happen again. So I think that students not being able to identify a positive role model or a negative role model is an issue that we need to nurture and work with students. And we have programs that we do give these students through health classes, or through random acts of kindness classes, or social skills classes, or Boys Town reward point system practices, to where the students are able to learn the proper way of performing those positive situations, to where they can practice self-awareness or practice self-coping skills, to where they're able to deal with whatever negative situation they're in, and then promote themselves to have a better positive outlook through the way that they react to those situations. So with that being said, being a positive role model or having one around is usually if you're in school and you have students who are at home and they have all this. They're in the setting to where they have parents who are at home, they're not working, parents are exhibiting some negative role modeling behavior characteristics, for example, and it could be minimal. For example, we have students that are at home, they're trying to do their classes, right behind them, their mom or their parent is watching TV. The program that the parent is watching is adult rated, to where the student is trying to focus on their work. Unfortunately, that work is in a workstation that's located directly near the student, and the student is just observing all this adult exposure of content that they should not usually see. So that's a negative role model, but it's something that's around them that the kids are not really able to take to have control over or take a stance against, to where they're able to relocate themselves to different areas. So it really has to do with control also. There's also students that are able to have positive role models, to where they're able to interact with students that are doing very well in class and have that ability to connect with the students and through a chat and the breakout rooms of the Google Meets, or they're able to go ahead and have peer-on-peer group instruction in order to enhance their academics, and that's a positive role model. But it really is depending on the setting and the situation that the students are in, both in education and at home.
So how would you sum up, how would you tell the listening audience? Because we have been fortunate to have on this podcast many school board trustees and program directors, you name it. But how can we get school administrators to care more about these issues that we discussed tonight? That's my question.
I think school administrators, they have a lot on their plate when they're being a director of a campus or a school. School administrators, I know, have to deal with not only the superintendent and the associate superintendent, but also TEA and the state. And they have a lot of other areas of concern with parents and the community, and having to establish a leadership role within their campus as well as for their community and for their faculty and staff. And so with administrators, I know that they have a lot on their plate. However, I've been very fortunate to work with administrators that are invested in making sure that students are successful, or trying their hardest to make sure that students are successful in all the areas of academics, but also to be safe and practicing social emotional strategies to work with the students, as well as teaching the students how to be cooperative with one another and practice the school rules, and make sure that they know that they are loved and nurtured, and to make sure that they are healthy and that they have plenty of food and stuff to eat. However, administrators, for them to be able to make the change is a challenge, I know, because they have so many other areas of concern for, especially with showing progress and showing growth in all the areas, and the state exam and so many different areas of assessment where they need to show growth. It affects the bottom line. It affects their money that they're getting into the school. It affects the money that they're able to purchase books and materials, as well as purchase programs and bundle learning instruction to help students be successful, and teachers to be able to establish a new way of delivering instruction to students to where the students are able to be successful. So with that being said, administrators really have a lot on their plate. So when it comes to administrators being able to get the time to meet and access and gather information from their faculty and their staff and their teachers as to what role they should be playing in getting academic instructions and getting materials and stuff. The administrators have been trying to establish new ways, especially since we've been virtual. I've seen where there's Google Forms and surveys going out to teachers on a regular basis about what any concerns they have, or any struggles that they're dealing with, anything that they might need in order to relieve those struggles. I know that they've been doing also conferences with teachers on a weekly basis. Professional development has now been to where it's no longer just after school, but however, it's now a whole full day now one day of the week to where teachers are able to practice online vertical alignment lesson planning with all their grade levels and as well as the vertical alignment grade levels, so that they are able to get more ideas as to what's happening in the classroom at other grade levels and what's been successful, so that they can also, share ideas to where the teacher that is struggling is able to establish a new routine of rituals to where they can apply a new academic program in their classroom so they can be successful. So I know that there's been a lot of group planning, a lot of leadership going on to where coaches and instructional specialists are being involved to where they're helping the faculty and staff be more successful in the classroom, especially with teachers who have been in education for many years, struggle with technology and don't really understand how technology works, or also to be able to make a connection with their students via the internet. So with that being established and being worked on every week, it is a mile-high milestone that we're trying to conquer, but eventually we'll get there. Just like you had said, we are pioneers, and we are working a new system of education that's never done before. And so we are having a lot of we're making a lot of mistakes, but we're also making a lot of achievements. So this is going to be a learning experience for everybody, to where we're able to survive, I guess, education for right now, but we will be able to be much more successful with in the future, because we are pretty much perfecting education much more effective to the students in the long run.
So this is basically another revolution, hint, hint, for the next school awakening. So this is we're in the cusp of a school awakening. We are the pioneers, if we can use that term, for this new school awakening. With that being said, that's a perfect tie. It's a perfect transition, segue to my next question for Ms. Bryan. But before I go there, Mr. Dorantes, thank you so much for adding value and being on this podcast with us this evening.
Thank you, sir. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. You're doing a fantastic job here. My next question is for Delna, Bryan. All right, so my question to you is, how would you sum up how does a child's social and cultural value influence their ability to pursue higher education or living in a place where, typically they've never explored before or visited? But just how do they have the motivation? How do they have the innate ability to pursue things that's higher level, like education? That's my question.
I think Philip kept a word that is instrumental in doing all that. You model it for them. You show them what it is. I can speak about bringing friends in. So they want to pursue a higher education to be a lawyer. But have they ever seen a lawyer? Have they ever talked to a lawyer? I have friends who are willing to come into the classroom and talk to them. Let them see and hear exactly what it is to be a lawyer. I remember reading a book of Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Chronicles of a Death Foretold. And there was a trial. The students had their parts as the lawyers. But the judge came in, who was a friend of mine, and he brought it down for them to see how a trial really took place. They had to think about their presentation. You have to motivate them again. You have to model it for them. You have to get them involved. We talk about what kind of learner are you? I am a visual learner. My students know, and they see me react to what is visually seen and what I am going to learn from that experience. We were talking before we left last week that there was going to be a traffic congestion on Mars. Little did I know that my students were going to go home over the break and come back to tell me about Perseverance landing on Mars on Thursday. And they actually saw the live landing and was able to discuss it with me today in class. That made me feel that I had contributed to them getting a higher quality of learning that they needed to go on. Who knows? Maybe one of the astronauts, and that's what I asked them. One of the astronauts that we need to really, for man to land on Mars, is sitting right there in the classroom. I remembered again, because it's fresh in my mind today. I told them this was possible because I sat in their chairs in middle school hearing about man landing on the moon. And I had the opportunity to see Neil Armstrong walk and plant the flag, the U.S. flag, on the moon, and said the eagle had landed. This was one step for man, one giant leap for mankind. While I'm telling my students this and asking them about a future astronaut sitting in the room, I'm looking at their reactions. I know that I'm reaching some to pursue a higher education. Today I let them know. Whatever it is they want to achieve, it's in their heart. Do not let anyone sway them from their dreams. Whatever they want to achieve is in their heart. Do not let anyone change their dreams. And then I asked different ones in the room, what does that mean to you? And they could answer, I know that I'm reaching my goal. I want them to pursue a higher education, and I'm reaping that. One thing that we must be aware of as teachers who are going through a pandemic, we must remember that we reap what we sow. And if we sow it with love, we will see the fruit later on with love. Thank you.
No, thank you. Well, we are out of time. This was another impactful night of the Impact Education Leadership. This is episode 69. Our guests tonight were Delna, Bryan, Philip, Dorantes, and the topic was our unsung heroes. Good night.